Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live. It's Wednesday night with me, Dr. Harley, and I have our special guest here in the green room, just hanging out, chilling right now. It's CJ from Wesson Customs. So without any further ado, let's bring him on in here. Let's find out all about CJ. How you doing, CJ? Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you. I'm doing great. Just getting back from the Key West and just been working on the bike a little bit. So,
Right on. So if anybody doesn't know who Wesson Custom is here on YouTube, I pinned his link to his channel at the top of the chat. So make sure you guys got to check out Wesson Customs. He's got a great channel. He does a lot of cool things all on his own in his garage, from paint to custom parts and everything. For instance, let's talk about some of the custom parts that you've built on your channel.
Well, one of the biggest things I actually built was the air cleaner cover. So I actually had my CNC machine cut it out, did all the engraving, and then powder coated it. So that was actually one of my highlights, because I kept looking and trying to see, because I wanted something custom on it to actually show the engine. I could find 113, 117 stuff, but not for the SNS 106 kit that I put in there, which is kind of funny. I could have gone with the 107 from SNS, but for longevity and the cylinders being a little bit thicker is why I went with a 106. But from everything on that bike, I have basically touched, except for the transmission right now. Just got done replacing throttle body, swing arm, and actually planning on doing some more stuff to it next year.
Wow! So you actually have a CNC machine in your garage?
Yeah, it's a small one. It's a desktop size. I got it last year. I'm still playing around with it because it does great for wood. The spindle that it came with was a very small one. And if you try to do aluminum, it would take forever. I think some aluminum projects that I was doing, it was telling me it would take 3 to 4 days to literally cut it out.
Wow.
I tried doing it with routers. I burned up probably 2 routers on that CNC because they're not meant to go the distance on that. They're supposed to be quick for wood. They had the speed, it would cut, but just literally burn them up. So been doing some research into that. Got to get it just a bigger spindle, and I can start doing flat objects. I cut out a thicker piece of aluminum for a derby cover slider, and I still got to kind of work with that for the spacing on it instead of cutting out a whole derby cover. Just makes things a little bit cheaper. And then I've actually picked up for my powder coating the accessories kit, so it actually vacuums and be able to do 2-tone powder coat, actually do letters, designs, just making it a lot more custom that way instead of just one solid color.
Right on. That's cool, man, that you're able to do that, even though it takes you longer because it's not the proper anvils and cutting bits for the aluminum, but it's pretty cool you're able to do that, you know?
I mean, the next thing is to actually upgrade my laser, because I got a laser machine to do some I can do small things with it, but actually touching aluminum and it actually lasting or any kind of metal, it just won't etch it. Now, if I etch into powder coat, it'll do that great and it'll show up, but it just won't last. So if you want to change the color or anything like that, you're going to have it re-lasered.
Gotcha.
So I don't really, I'm not getting into that as much right now until I upgrade my laser, because I want a quality product, especially trying to get into derby covers and other parts. So then I could actually start doing that on the side and offer that to people.
Yeah, right on. Right on. So you have an older bike because I see you post videos, the joys of owning and riding an older bike.
Yes.
It can be challenging at times.
It is. I mean, at this point, I would say it's older. To some, it's not as old. It's not a old chopper. It's not a panhead, knucklehead. I mean, it's still a twin cam, but it's one of those finicky years because it's an '08. I mean, first year for ABS, throttle by wire, 6-gallon tank. So it was one of those transition years. It's like, okay, we did all this, and then '09, we're going to do a whole frame change. So it's right before that.
Yep, that's when they had that bar that went around the back over the rear fender. Yep. That's
finally got rid of that.
A lot of people do, and I usually see a lot of people just take a hacksaw to it and call it done.
I did that. I didn't like the look because you still have a bar or that tube sticking out, and it's like that just doesn't look complete. Amazon,
it looks unfinished.
Yeah. I mean, I found the parts on Amazon. I think it was like $20. It's just a plate, bolts right up, makes it so much cleaner, especially if you don't want a luggage rack or the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. So let's talk about your channel here for a quick minute. You have, at this current time, you got 1,780 something subs at this point, with 333 videos that you've had it in just in the past 2 years, man. That's awesome. You're killing it. In 2 years, you got, almost 2,000 subs. That's awesome. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And every video I watch of yours, you look like you're having a good time. And honestly, that's what it's all about.
It is. And it's been a huge learning curve, especially with installs and trying to make it enough detail. And that's kind of where I'm learning with that, to where I think more the vlog style for me, instead of the detail of voiceover and doing that route, I don't have as much fun with it. But I know some people want more detail, so I'm kind of probably going to start putting out 2 different style of videos around that, so that way people that want the full install of showing this, and this, they have it. So, but the travel, love it. Got to meet tons of people doing the traveling. I mean, this year I went to Sturgis, went to Milwaukee again. I even went out to Robert Simmons' 4th annual event out in Georgia. Just got back from that not too long ago. So it's been a blast this year.
Hey, Rick, what'd you do? Put him in a timeout? But yeah, I travel a lot this year myself. I've done 8 different events throughout the year, and I've been to some pretty cool places, and I've had a great time as well. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. What was your favorite event for this year?
Ooh, favorite? I still have to say kind of Daytona, because I didn't really run into, well, no, I still ran into problems that event, but I was down there with my dad this year again. So we've been going to Daytona. That was the first event that we both went to. That was huge. I was senior in high school, so that's just been kind of one of our events. And last year, we didn't go. I went the whole week down to Daytona. So I think that would have to be my favorite, really. I mean, both our bikes went down in Daytona. I lost my clutch, and then his just shuts off. So it's not charging. So we both had to get, or he had to get it over, go back to the Airbnb, get the trailer, load him up. And that was midnight. So we got back to the Airbnb at 2:00 in the morning. and that was right
Oh,
after leaving Burning Bike. It was a very interesting, but being there together and sharing that experience. Um, and then my second, I would have to say Sturgis, because being the first time being up there, I was not completely prepared for camping. I was like, okay, hey, it's probably going to be down to 60s or upper 60s. No, it was getting into like the 50s at night. I was like, oh my lord, that's like trying to get a sweatshirt, trying to stay warm at night. So I was not completely prepared for that. And then had to actually get a clutch cable replaced up there. So
yep.
a few hiccups this year with the bike, but everything's been replaced at this point.
Yep. Awesome. Speaking of replace, one of your newest videos was the headlight install you
Yes,
did.
yes.
I like that install you did.
Yeah, that thing is bright. I mean, we're talking 9,000 lumens on high beam. Came from Hogwarts. Amazing working with them and doing that headlight, because I was running a Moon's MC. Um, so the high beam is equivalent to the low beam on that new headlight, and it just pushes out further um, to the front and to the sides, where I got a whole lot more lighting and can see.
Yep.
So, and the price point of it being for a Street Glide being $500, it's literally the cheapest on the market without going complete knockoff, not having a lifetime warranty on it. So
I want to say cheapest. I would say like least expensive.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for that style though, I mean but yeah, a lot more cost efficient basically. I mean, for instead of going like Baja, some of the other brands, it's yeah. But I mean, putting that much lighting, I have no problem at the times I do right. I mean, especially being around here with all the deer, it helps out a lot with that.
Right on. Right on. And you know, out of all the videos you shot, what's your favorite video out of them all? Just out of curiosity. Do you have one or no?
Not really. And it's kind of funny with that. I mean, if I was going to say the ones I feel that I really, really like are the ones that I have family in the videos with me. So talking points, just everything. But I have fun on my trips, but when it's with the family, like the ones I've done with my dad, I just have a different feeling with them, because then I can always look back at those videos later on and be like, hey, I did this with him. I did this with family, not just by myself. So,
Right.
but I don't really have a favorite, but those stand out to me a whole lot more. It's like the one I just released today, no bike content. It's just literally me going down the Key West with the family, with the wife and her dad and his fiance, just having a blast down there. So
Yeah, I saw that today. That was a good video. I enjoyed it, because it's you. You know what I mean? It's just you.
right.
And I thought that was an awesome transition to go from, motovlogging to how-tos to, hey, this is me on vacation enjoying my life, which I thought was perfect.
Right. Yeah. I was like, hey, we're doing this. We're going to Key West, because I do traveling. Whether it's bike or not, it could be a destination somebody might want to ride down to and see. So I was like, hey, let's just have fun with this. And it was a blast. It really was.
Yeah. Are you like me where when you go to an event, you're not, when I go to an event, I sit there and say, okay, these are the days I'm going to record. These are the days I'm going to have for myself. Or do you just bring your camera everywhere all the time and record as you go?
I'm kind of more getting into that of just bring the camera, record, because then I might be able to just put something together and it'd be hilarious. I'm just kind of getting to that point of it to where, because the first year I started doing it, especially Daytona, I was like, okay, we're going to this event, this event, this event, and record. And I'm kind of transitioning away from that. Just kind of have fun with it, record, and see what kind of happens at the events.
Yep.
I might still plan out like for going to a ride or wanting to do something specific, but especially being at Daytona so many years, instead of picking out events like the Chopper Show, it's like I've covered that as an event 2 years running. So it's kind of like, hey, if I end up there, okay, but not be like, oh, here, let's do a whole thing right around that.
Right. That's understandable. My whole thing is when I go, for instance, let's look at Smoky Mountain Bike Week. When I went out this year, we went out, we spent the first day there, which was a Thursday, and I didn't break out the camera at all. Then Friday, I didn't break out the camera because Friday was for me. Saturday, that was my record day. That I was going to go around, record, document the event, and that was it. And that was my Saturday. And Sunday we left early in the morning to come back home. But I try and plan when I'm at these events, time for me and time for the channel. I believe there's got to be a balance between the two. In the beginning, It was all about the channel. Let's create content. Let's get the content together. And I learned that, okay, there's quantity there, but you want to make sure you want quality as well. So you don't get the quality if you're not enjoying what you're doing. So I might, I went, for instance, Daytona this year. I was at the racetrack quite a few times. I was at this destination a few times, but that's what you do, and I made sure that there was times for me and then times for recording for the channel.
Exactly. I mean, because if you're not having fun with it, it does show. But
then it becomes a job.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make my hobby into a job.
Exactly. I mean, when it becomes just a burden and I was like, okay, hey, I got to put out content. I got to keep up with this. I got to do this. Then it's like, it starts showing. And then it's like, why am I even doing this if I'm not having fun with it?
Exactly. Like I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary and I still don't sit there and says, oh, I got to come up with content. Oh, I got to go record this. Oh, I got to edit that. I don't do that yet. I'm sitting there going, hey, I want to make this content. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the editing process because I like to put it together and see how it comes out because there's a finished product, and I try and do the best I can. At the same time, upgrading my equipment, like I went away from the GoPros to the DJI Pocket 3 now. So we'll see how that works. I mean, there's some growing pains with that.
Right. I had the Pocket 2, and now I have the DJI Action 4. And the reason I didn't upgrade to the Pocket 3 is I feel like I was missing out on some content to where I could just turn it on the bars, have it set up, kind of frame my shot, because I like my GoPro, my 360 to a certain degree for some different shots, but I feel like the quality when I'm editing looks better off the DJI than the Insta.
Yep. I liked having my Insta360, but it became a nightmare for editing because the editing software I have, I can't edit the 360 soft videos in it. So I have to edit in the 360 software, export it, and then import it into my editing software to put a whole video together. And that became cumbersome. And I was like, this is too much like work.
Right.
So I ended up putting my GoPros on the handlebars.
Yeah, that's where I have the DJI. But see, like between the Pocket 2, I'd have to be digging right into my saddlebag, pull it out, and somebody might literally walk up, start asking me questions, talking to me, and I'd be like, "Hey, that could have been very informational for a video." So I felt like I was missing out on that. So at least with the DJI or the Action 4, with it being up on the bars, I can just literally hit record, move it around, and capture that. So that's kind of why I didn't really go to the Pocket 3. Now the Pocket 3 would probably be great in the shop. Just set it up, the picture on it, have the wireless mic attached. Now I just picked up a wireless mic, and first video I shot with it, I didn't have the update because I think they made it fuller and not sound so flat as much with the update on the mic.
Yep.
But
now, I when I got my Pocket 3, I ordered the creator kit. So it came with a battery, the tripod, the mic, the wide angle lens, and then I added a second battery, which to me was important. This way, if you're out at an event and you're filming, you got the battery and the actual camera itself. Then you got the extended battery. So once those two batteries are done, you're done. But if you got an additional battery, then you could continue going on.
Yep. See, like with the Action 4, I got the charging handle basically from GoPro and attached it to it. So that way, when that battery goes pretty low, I'm still able to charge it. And then I have another battery for it. But for the most part, that with the charging handle and the battery, it lasts almost all day. And I'm impressed with that.
Nice. Yeah, I've had yet to run the batteries down in my Pocket 3, and I think I've done a half a dozen videos with it already.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'm happy with that. That the batteries do last. They last a lot longer than the GoPros, which I'm happy about, because that's the most annoying thing is when you're doing an install video and then you hear the deek 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 because the battery just shut down because the battery's dead.
Right.
So now I got to change the battery, figure out where it left off when it died, either go back or say, "Hey, look, sorry, the battery died. Here we are."
Exactly. And that was a lot of reason why what I was looking at. I was like, and I got being out on the road going to Sturgis with John and Sandy. See, Sandy runs the DJI Osmo Action 4, and then got the mount from John, the way he mounts his up. So I'm like, well, that way I can charge it. Now, I've been playing around with the quick mounts. I just upgraded to Alonzi, a different style Alonzi adapter. So I got to play around with it to see how I like it. But it's a little bit bigger because what I had, I'm like trying to fidget with it, trying to go down the road, get back in its little cradle. I'm like, this is annoying. It's like, so I'm still kind of playing around with that, but that's probably going to be a video probably next month talking about a good motovlog setup.
Be looking forward to that because that motovlogging is one of the things I don't do well at. And I stopped doing them. I tried it, and I just didn't really enjoy it because for me, my riding is my time.
Right.
When I was in West Virginia for Mob of the Mountains this year, I just threw the camera on the handlebars and threw music to it because, the scenery out there is just amazing. Now, if you get a chance this year, you want to get out to Mob of the Mountains 2025. It's in West Virginia. It's a great time.
Oh, wow.
It's basically ride all day, go back to the campground, cook, drink if you want, drink whatever you want, break some stones, tell stories of the ride that day, look forward to the ride the next day. It's basically an old school biker camp out where it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Good, clean fun. There's some shenanigans, but it's to me, it was one of my best events I went to this year, and I had a lot of fun.
Oh wow.
And my hat off
Yeah,
to
and I enjoy those a lot.
yeah, my hat goes off to Roland
The smaller
Fottle.
ones I enjoy. Yep.
You know, because he put it all together, and he's doing it again this year, and it's a lot of work. My hat comes off to him for doing it, and he puts on a great event.
Oh wow. Yeah, because I do like the smaller events. I've been out to Adams Southern American twice, and it's a great time. Because everybody's really at the campground, go out and ride. You have more time to kind of mingle with people. Because then, like Daytona, unless you're at a specific event that everybody kind of knows about or going to, you might run into them, but you're so spread out. So it's harder to kind of get that bonding as much unless you're all hanging out and doing and going back to the campgrounds
Exactly.
or hotels. So that's kind of where I prefer to, well, not really prefer, but I do like the smaller rallies.
Smoky Mountain's another great small rally to go to. It's a lot of fun. Plus, there's a lot of great riding around there. You know, you go to the rally, it's the rally part of it, but you have Devil's Triangle, the Back of the Dragon, Sure Hall Highway, the Tail of the Dragon, all that's right there. So there's some great riding plus the rally. And it's small enough that you'll see everybody you need to see easily and say, hey, I'm going for this ride to go here. You want to go? Most of the time, someone says, absolutely, let's go.
Yeah, so I got to check that one out. And that one's really not that far. Because I've been to Travel and Tall's event twice, which is up in, near Pigeon Forge, all that, Gatlinburg. And I actually was up there this last time, literally a couple of days before, actually on a family vacation, which that event or that video, I put some of the family vacation part at the beginning of it, and then went to his event for a day, came back, and then hung out with the family for the rest of the time. So that was another good one.
I have yet to make it up to a traveling tall event. Coming from Connecticut, it's hard to get down that way often. So I pick and choose my events. Like this year, it's going to be a lot less traveling than I did this past year. Daytona's one, Mob in the Mountains the other, and Smoky Mountain. That's it. Because I'm saving time and money to go to Sturgis in 2026.
Oh wow!
Yeah, for me, it's a 2-week commitment.
Okay,
it's 3 days to get out there, the week there, and then 3 days to get back. So I have to take 2 weeks off of work. So I have to save that vacation time, let it build up.
Yeah, because for that event, I was on the road basically 2 weeks because I went up to Milwaukee, got to see some friends, met up with John and all them, especially at the Moto meetup.
Yep.
Rode with them out to Sturgis when they continued on for their 8,000-mile trip. So I was there in Sturgis for basically almost a week. So I got to be there for the rally and then during the first weekend of the rally. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. My brother, Big Mike 135, he went out to Milwaukee with his blood brother. And while they were out there, they decided, hey, we're halfway there. Let's just go to Sturgis. And they're like, okay. So they rode out to Sturgis with Crystal from Rolling Throttle, and Drew was behind him bringing the Rolling Throttle shop with him.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he had a great time. And they rode back from Sturgis, and this was all 35. So wow. Is that 135 a long haul motor for touring? Absolutely. He just proved you could do it.
Exactly.
So let's get back to you now. Let's really get everybody get a chance to know you. How many motorcycles have you had over the years?
Ooh, over the years, I've had 2. Now, I do borrow my dad's bikes from time to time because it was first, yeah, it was right after building the 106 engine. I had rode it out to Adams Campground, South American. First year, I actually met Ryan from Full Throttle Hog.
Okay.
And that's a funny story on that because engine was broke in, everything was running fine, left the campground, and the bike just shuts off. And Ryan stays there to help load the bike on the trailer, and I got home. Well, come to find out later on, because I had a buddy out there who actually fixed the bike, the cam bolt had pulled out of the cams. So it locked that entire engine up. And I was like, oh no. Like I was afraid like I was going to have head work done. Just didn't know. I mean, it sent metal shavings throughout the engine. And what he said was the bolt had gotten weak because it didn't get replaced. It was torqued. It was Loctite with red, but still just got weak and pulled out. But got it fixed out there. Well, in the meantime, I'm about to head up to Arkansas for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. And I don't have a bike. Well, my dad throws me the keys to the FXR with an S&S 111 engine in it, and I just take off up there. And that was a rough ride because one, I'm riding with a bunch of friends that were going. They had their baggers with 6-gallon tanks. I had like a 5-gallon tank on that FXR. It had more like drag bar style bars. So I'm hunched over with mid controls, and it's 400 miles up to Arkansas. I'm like this has got to be changed out.
Yeah.
So
what was your first bike then? What would be your first?
First, it was a Suzuki 250. Was my very first bike, street bike, because I started on dirt bikes, but I don't really consider that. It was like a 50cc dirt bike, and then my first street bike at 15 was a 250 because I was out in Texas. That's the biggest you could have at 15. Go wherever you wanted to. And then 17, I got my Sportster, which I still have, and it's gone through a few transitions to finally a full performance Sportster.
Nice.
1275 kit, D&D exhaust. I've never had it on the dyno, but I would say somewhere up there close to 100 horsepower of that thing.
Wow. Yeah, people don't believe that the Sportster motors, man, you could get them up there for horsepower and torque. I mean, they are. I mean, I'm talking the Evo Sportsters, even the Ironhead Sportsters. You could get them up there, and they can perform quite well, which is awesome. So, out of the two bikes, what's your favorite bike, or you not have one?
Well, each one's kind of got its purpose. I mean, at the time when I just had the Sportster, and that's kind of where I didn't go extreme on it. I wanted more horsepower and torque, kind of keep up with my dad. He had the bagger at the time with a 103. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be kind of left in the dust. I want to be able to keep up with him and some of the bigger bikes. And it made its transition, and finally put the 1275 kit in it with cut and polished heads, and it would just basically eat him for lunch at that time. So, but I didn't want something with high compression because it was kind of my traveling bike. I was riding it down to Daytona on it, going a few places, not real far. So that one has kind of a special place in my, and never get rid of it because of all the work I've done to it. First Harley, and then got the bagger, and I've been doing more traveling, being able to do the camping with it. So it's just two different animals, really.
Yep, I know that feeling between my Softail and my Road Glide. You know, two different beasts. I have a fire-breathing, insane Softail to a comfortable, relaxing, stock-ish Road Glide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's it's got a cam in it. You know, it's making good power and torque on my Road Glide, but my Softail is just insane. You know, it's a 154 horsepower bike.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's over 165 foot-pounds of torque, and this is all at the tire.
Ooh. Plus, you're talking weight to power ratio on both of them. You know, it's. I mean, I've done a lot to that bagger. I mean, it's got the Dark Horse compensator in it, Man of War, which at the time when I was looking at doing that, they were still selling the 32 tooth. I think they've completely stopped selling them. Just sell the 34 because I go to look it up. I can't find. Now I could probably contact them and get a 32 tooth. I know Baker came out with, I think, a 30 tooth, but the biggest problem I ran into with getting the 32 tooth was finding a chain tensioner that would work with it. And I ran into Vulcan Works. So they sell just the chain tensioner for a 32 tooth and not have to get a whole kit. So that eliminated that problem because I think what they were doing when they first came out with the 32 tooth was making a shoe to fill in the gap that went over your automatic chain tensioner. So that kind of went away. And then I think the 32 tooth went away. But it changes the gearing just enough to where about maybe 200 RPMs. And then you're not having to downshift as much from 6th to 5th and be able to pull on it a little bit more.
Yep. And it screams on the highway, but you get a great launch out of the hole.
Oh, yeah. Well, not so much by 200 horsepower. So 6 gear, 80, I was looking at 3,000. Now I'm looking at like 3,200. So
it's not that bad.
No.
That's
not
awesome.
Without changing the gears a ton. So, and that's where a 2-tooth wasn't going to make a big difference, but enough to where off the line it would have a little bit more RPMs and get going a little bit quicker.
Yep. So, what else have you done to your Street Glide?
Well, from 08 when it had the 41 millimeter forks, got rid of that. Worked with Geezer Engineering, did the whole triple tree change, put 49 millimeter forks.
Smart move.
I will say game changer. I mean, I recommend that to anybody that has a 13 and back. It's like, hey, it will make a huge difference by going from 41 to 49.
Yeah. As far as handling, as far as comfortability, rideability, it's just a much better front end.
It is. And they make some great products. I mean, they not trying to rob the blind on their parts and everything. They're great quality. I mean, I put thousands of miles on the suspension at this point, and I will put it up against anybody. It's a great suspension, and just now doing the conversion because you have to grind on the neck a little bit for the stop. Some people don't feel comfortable doing that because, I mean, you start grinding on that. There's no, unless you take it to a welder, you're not adding metal back to it.
No, you can't.
So
here's a good question from Shane, who comes to us from New Zealand. Wants to know, if people don't drag or track race, why are we always chasing big power numbers? Do you want to feel that, or you?
Well, because it's back to that power to weight ratio. So the more power, whether it be horsepower or torque, especially torque, will get you off the line quicker. So it's the bigger the numbers, the outrun outrun somebody else. So I kind of a different field than I'm into because I'm always building more of the bikes for reliability. And that's one reason I don't look at compression. I try to always keep my compression closer to stock because the higher the compression is, the higher the fuel. So trying to run, I don't know, 12-5 to a 13-1 compression, you're not going to try to run that 89, 87 fuel in there because it's going to start pinging.
Yep. Well, my answer to that is horsepower and torque is a very addictive drug. And you know it's time to add more when you feel like your built bike has gotten slow. And I'm at that point on my Softail, but I've reined myself back in saying, you don't need more. You don't need more because it's plenty for what it is. But it's a very addicting drug. It really is. And I love it.
I mean, it's like building the Street Glide. Fuel Moto has a 107 kit, and it uses SNS heads, but I think they're 91cc heads. Well, they dome their pistons so that way you're getting that compression with that size head. Well, my biggest thing with that is how long is it going to last? Is it going to last 100,000 miles, 150,000 miles, or we're going to get down to 50,000? And it still depends on how you ride it. Now, I think the kit's saying somewhere right around 120 to 130 horsepower out of a 107.
Yep.
Which is great numbers for a twin cam. I mean, and that's kind of where, like, next bike, I might be looking at an M8, not having to do as much to the engine as a twin cam. Because, I mean, the twin cam's got 89cc heads from SNS, 106 kit, 585 cams. I just got done putting the Baker ball and ramp in there. Kind of eliminate that, bigger washers. So that way I don't have a problem with that because that was a big problem up in Sturgis. Found out that it was warped.
Yep. So thank you, Angel Face, for listening in while you're working on your motorcycle and working on your next motorcycle video. I really appreciate you listening in and being here. Thank you so much. I know CJ appreciates it as well.
Yep.
So now, audio. Are you an audio guy on your Street Glide?
Somewhat. Now, I work with Hog Tunes, putting the whole audio system on there. So the last thing I did from them was the 6x9 speakers in the rear. For the longest time, I was like, okay, I just need a Bluetooth unit and a little bit louder speakers. Went in their giveaway one year, and I installed the amp, and it made a world of difference. I'm like, okay, hey, this is plenty loud. I can hear it. And then worked with them to do the 6x9 speakers where I painted the lids. I was like, I've been missing out. So it's like just a night and day difference but that's the extent of what I'll do to it. I'm not doing no subs. I don't want all that extra weight. Because depending on what you go with, I mean, you take up bag space, and I use a ton of my bag space.
That's understandable. That's understandable. Hello to Southern Boys Ride, coming into us from your channel.
Oh, wow. What is up, guys?
Yeah. So, yeah, because I put a Sounds Digital on my Road Glide because I want to hear my radio, and so does my wife while we ride. And I think Harley riders, we're the first ones to make our bike so loud that we can't hear our stereo. So then we end up spending more money into our stereo so we can hear the radio over the loud exhaust. I mean, it's just common sense.
Right. Now, I will say with the SNS Sidewinder, now I just took the packing material out, which made idle a little bit louder. It's got a deep roar, but I think next month I'm going to be changing that out. So
Go with tabs.
That's
Go with tab. I'm a big fan of tab. They don't give me anything.
Yeah.
They've never given me anything. Either tab or a Squeaky Speed 2-1.
I looked into that. I'm thinking of going with Two Brothers Racing. Is who I'm looking at. I'm going to go with their shorty pipe, and a lot of that has to do with the swing arm I just put on there, because I just put a Ally Art swing arm on it. So I want to kind of show that off. I'm kind of going that full performance look. So something a little bit shorter. So that's kind of in the works. And vinyl wrapping the entire bike is what I'm looking at doing. So I'm going to kind of cover up all the airbrushing, all that, but go 3-tone with it. So that, because one, I think it'd be a good video to do, because even the average person can vinyl wrap if they take the time with
and prep the surface.
Yeah. And that's where anybody can change the look of their bike by vinyl wrap. But with painting, you got to have the space. You got to have a good or decent paint gun, air compressor to keep up, plus all the materials. And if you get a chip in it, it's a little bit easier to fix with vinyl by just tear it off, revinyl it, than, oh, hey, I got to find this paint. Especially like with mine, it's 2-tone. So the lighter blue, for which I can go to Harley and get the repair kit if it's small enough. But if I have to get a rattle can, it's $90 for just the rattle can, and then up from there. Now the darker blue, all they sell it in is a quart, which is roughly $60 to $70 for a quart of the paint, which is cheaper. But I'm like, okay, vinyl wrap it, kind of protect what I already have, and do it a little bit more subtle, a little bit of a subtle look to it. But I think it'll turn out looking great, and then kind of give it that more performance bagger look. Just so a black, a dark blue, and a silver throughout the entire bike. Still kind of keeping the same colors.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, all right, so are you going to post a video on how to vinyl wrap? And
I am. I'm going to do it vlog style, not detail like how I've done some of my install videos. Mm-hmm. And no, thank you.
Yeah, right on. Props to you.
I mean, so yeah, just just have fun with it, really. Just kind of get out there. I think it actually is going to take me longer to vinyl wrap than to paint. But I'm also doing the entire bike, having everything torn apart. That way I can have it all flow. Because it's kind of funny with that one. When I started painting that bike, I didn't paint every piece all at once. It was done in pieces, because I had replaced the front fender, painted it, and then did the side covers, did the fairing because it had some scratches. So it was done in pieces. So actually having everything off the bike and vinyl wrap it all the way I want it. But I think that'll do pretty good, actually, because the average person can take it in their house or their shop or their garage, whatever it might be, and vinyl wrap. I think the initial, depending on the bike size, the vinyl is going to be a little bit expensive, but repair-wise, a lot cheaper. But just the average person can do it instead of, oh, I need a clean room, I need this gun, because going to Harbor Freight or buying a cheap one off Amazon, it's not going to spray that good, and have runs or whatever it might be, and then get mad and having to get more material. So, and I'm still learning with the whole painting itself. I don't try to teach painting. I would like to take some classes. Time Warp Customs does some classes. I would love to learn from that guy. I watch a lot of his content for painting and learning. But I still have a few issues with my paint to where I really wouldn't teach somebody else.
Yep.
Just kind of one of those.
So you're self-taught with painting.
Yep.
That's something I would not even attempt because, like I said, prep work is everything.
It is. It is.
The sealer, your primer, then, the distance from the gun to what you're painting, the spray pattern, not stopping in the middle, all of that comes to play. And then to really confuse things, when you add your thinner, I guess you call it thinner, so it sprays a lot easier, has to go with, temperature and humidity of the room you're playing.
You're curing everything. It's
and then to spray properly, you got to have a downdraft spray booth where it pulls all the extra overspray down and through a filter. I get to the point where if I need something painted, I'm just going to drop it off and pay somebody to paint it, because by the time I get done getting set up to paint something that's going to look like ass, it's going to cost me 4 times the amount just paying somebody to paint this part.
I mean, I've had fun doing it, but like some of my tape lines, tape peeling up, just like, because if you put too much paint on, the tape kind of starts lifting, then you get underspray. It's, oh man, if I had a camera just posted up, filming the entire process of me painting over the years, there have been some words said, for sure, because not all paints go together. I mean, I've had it literally wrinkle if there's any debris. It's an irritating process and learning.
Just like powder coating. I mean, when you first start powder coating, most, if not all, your parts will have fish eyes. There'll be imperfections in it. And then after you get good at it and you have a process from media blasting to cleaning it to, if that's your prep, to spraying the powder and then baking it and then having it, that's a big science. And at this, I was looking at getting into powder coating stuff myself. And when I got done looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I got a powder coater less than a mile from me. I'll just bring it to him.
Where I usually run into an issue with powder coating is, and I think a lot of it has to do with the powder coat gun I have, because it's just a Harbor Freight. So it's not really set up to do two-tone, or not really two-tone, but 2 layers. So I usually end up with a little bit of orange peel is what it looks like almost, or spots, when I try to go back to put another layer on, where some of the more expensive have different current. So you'll boost the current for another layer to put it on top. So, but that's again a difference between a $80 powder coat gun and something that's like $200 to $300 in the powder coating world. And then also where you get your powder. I like getting my powder from like Prism Powders. They have a large variety of powders. One big thing I learned, because I was trying to do a derby cover, this kept turning out terrible. Like, I got chrome powder and I was going to lay it down and then clear coat over it. As soon as I did that and baked it, it turned gray, no longer chrome. I'm like, what is going on here? But it has something to do with the reaction between the chrome and the clear. So,
yeah, I mean, I talked to my powder coater about the chrome powder. He refuses to use it because he has in the past. He says what happens with the UV light and everything after a summer, that chrome starts to yellow.
Oh, wow.
And he uses Prism, and he uses a lot of different powders, and he's tried them all, and he has the same effect after summer. So he won't do a chrome powder.
I don't blame him, because it's just, to get a true chrome, you have to have it chrome plated. It's a whole different process. For blacks or anything like that, I like to use super durable or something along that line of it, or
Yep.
deep black. But having a sandblast cabinet, and even for that part of it, knowing the medium that you need to use so that way you get a good bite. I've had, like, especially with chrome, if you're powder coating over chrome, it needs to be scuffed, something to bite into, or to just chip away. But
Yeah.
I mean, I learned powder coat.
Evil Rex says it right. Do the prep right, and then the rest falls into place. Because if your prep is incorrect or messed up, your final product is going to be messed up and it won't look right.
No,
so
it really won't.
I leave that stuff to the people that do it all the time, the paint and powder coat. Let them handle it. You know, because one, I don't have the space to set up a powder spraying booth and the ovens and all that. And two, I don't want to start messing around and ruining parts, learning how to powder coat. You know, especially I got a guy here that does them for roughly about $25 a piece for small pieces, and the larger pieces, it's more money because he's got to fire up the bigger oven.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I don't want to get into frames and some large, but for electric grill or smoker where I can actually hang the parts, I can almost do most parts on a bike except for really frames and maybe a few other items like swing arms, but for the most, or rims. But I want to kind of make an oven big enough to do rims and exhaust, because when I was looking at doing my heat shields, I didn't have a large enough oven. So, but it holds up a lot better. I ended up doing basically spray paint and redoing my heat shields, because I did Cerakote, which is just a spray on. That stuff was so thin, and after going up to Sturgis, they looked awful. I think something with the chemicals at the power or pressure wash, whatever it might be, it just baked into that Cerakote and just looked terrible. I was like, nope. And it would just scratch or chip off real easy. I'm just like, so I ended up doing a high heat spray paint, and it came out looking a whole lot better than the Cerakote. But my option was done.
Yeah, my powder coater does ceramic coating for me. He's done my squeaky pipe, and yeah, it doesn't last that long, but he does it in multiple different. You know, he'll ceramic coat it, bake it, cure it. Ceramic coat, bake it, cure it. He does it 3 times, just so it's got a good, solid, base, medium, and then a top coat, just to thicken it up, because it does scratch easy. And he tells you, okay, it's baking, cured, but let it sit for 2 or 3 days before you put it on. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Now, from what I've read into, the Cerakotes that actually bake are a lot tougher. See, I went with Air Cure, and I just don't recommend it. Just for those principles, but I haven't tried any of the baked on, just because not having a large enough oven to put basically a whole exhaust system or the heat shields, because with a full pipe, especially on the bagger, it's just too long to fit in a regular oven.
Yep. And that's when you get into making your own ovens or spending, big money for a baking oven.
Oh yeah. Yep. And that's kind of where doing the whole electric smoker, where to heat up to 400 degrees, and then actually upgrading my powder coat gun to do multiple layers where it switches current and be able to actually powder coat. So I have no problem doing powder coating, but painting for somebody, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that with some people, because some people can get really, really finicky on painting. Plus, I know how much it costs just for materials and then time. It's like, okay, I got to put this much time. And the only other person I've ever done a paint job for was my dad on his FXR. And doing that fairing was the worst fairing. I'd rather do a street glide fairing all day long. Just lay it straight or lay it flat and you're painting one side. With that FXR P fairing, you got to basically hang it or have some kind of contraption to sit it in and paint all the way around it.
Yeah. Like I said, painting, you got to be set up a full booth with all the apparatuses to put it all together. It's fun. So, do you have any plans for events this year? You already talked about Daytona. When are you going to be in Daytona?
So I'm going to be in Daytona the first weekend. So, which is kind of funny because the wife goes on a cruise, gets back the 22nd, and then I'm leaving town basically right after she gets back to go to Daytona, be down there for 5 days. So that's the first event. I got to see about any other events that I'm doing. Might go back to Thunder Beach for a day or two just because my dad lives close to there. But my biggest thing I'm planning for next year isn't really an event. It's long distance travel. So I'm planning on taking his 1990 Softail Springer and go up to like Niagara Falls, over to New Jersey, and then back down the East Coast. So somewhere right around 2,000 something miles on that bike, but I might only do like 300 to 400 miles a day because it's been lowered. It's got a Corbin seat on it. It rides rough, and anybody that's ever rode a Springer knows it's a whole different feel. It's got a 21-inch front wheel tube, so got to constantly check that for air. It's got no saddlebags. No, I think he's buying some parts right now, so that's going to be a project. I got to paint the tank. So he's putting a whole new tank on it. I think he got a cable for the speedometer because the speedometer for years hasn't worked. So it just bounces up to 10 miles an hour. So it's like, okay, hey, I'm just going 10.
So is it driven off the front? Is the speedometer gear driven off the front wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't the greatest.
No. So that's going to be an experience all on its own because I've taken the Sportster out to this last event to Robert Simmons' 4th annual event. That was a fun time. Riding 400 miles. I didn't have a backrest, and I took my Kimimoto bag because I could fit everything. Well, that bag was pushing me basically onto the tank. So I'm like, okay, anytime I got to take a Sportster now, I got to get a luggage rack for it. The Springer has a luggage rack, but I'm not doing any camping for that trip. It's all hotels. I'm planning about 10 days on the road for that trip. Try to go by and see John and Sandy and a lot of the guys in New Jersey. I still got to work out the details, but it's looking at somewhere in September doing that trip when it starts kind of cooling off a little bit. Kind of see what events are right around there. I know. I think it's
you got Ocean City Bike Week in September.
Party.
If you were curious,
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good little rally. They get great bands there. I love going to Ocean City.
Okay.
So yeah, nice. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Just hitting the road and just spending time on the road and just visiting people and if you can hit an event. If you can't, you can't. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, because my dad took that bike up to Milwaukee for the 100th anniversary. So it'd be good to kind of take it back out on a road trip for me to do it and just kind of do it old school. Just bare bones, no radio,
No GPS.
It'd be all the GPS would be on my phone, so I have to, I got to put a phone charger on the bike, at least do that. But other than that, just straight bare bones.
Quad lock with the wireless charger.
Yeah,
Recommend it.
that's actually what I was looking into. That way I can wire it in, have the wireless charger, it clip in. So because
Get the vibration adapter for the Springer. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. I'll get off that bike and still feeling it.
Yep. I did that on my Softail, and I was very happy I did all that with the vibration adapter, the wireless charger. You have to get, well, you don't have to, but they do make phone cases for all the phones.
Yeah.
Or you could get the sticky part that goes on the back of the phone to lock it in, and I just didn't feel safe with that, so I just bought the case.
Yeah, because I'm using lock form right now, but the accessories I see from Quad Lock is what's pointing me more that way, especially for that trip. So that's probably the route I'm going to go with for phone charger.
Oh, right on. Right on.
But yeah, that's going to be my really my biggest trip of the year. I mean, those are the two I'm shooting for, and it's just going to be a blast. Other than that, a lot more stuff kind of around the house. I mean, I got stuff going on, especially for the end of this month, running into January, and really getting the bike all done up for Daytona, because it's going to be completely different look to it by just vinyl wrapping it and exhaust.
I can't wait to see it. So, yeah, I can't wait to see it in Daytona. Let's try and connect while we're down there, because I'm going to be there on the 28th of February, and we're leaving early morning on the 9th. So we're there. I'm there for the whole rally.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So there's a probably midweek we're going to be headed down Alligator Alley into Tampa. I know it's a long way, but Alligator Alley is a bucket list for Big Mike and I. So we're going to check off that bucket list, and that's going to be a couple days in midweek, probably either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. We don't know yet. Right. We'll see whether the weather will be dependent,
The biggest thing I'm looking at for Daytona really is the Dennis Kurt garage build. And because I've tried putting the bike in a few bike shows local. Mm-hmm. I did one local to here and then one at Emerald Coast in Navarre, Florida. And that one went better, but again, it's depending on what's kind of around there, what people know, what's been done to the bike. So I feel like the Dennis Kurt garage build would be a great thing for me to put it in, because everything's been done by me.
In your garage.
Yep. And then everybody's kind of looking at everything that's been done to the bike. People will know what's done to the bike, whether it's performance or not, than just somebody that's, hey, that's got lights on it, or that's got a hanger, or what is this, and not really knowing. So I feel like doing a bike show like that would be great for me to do. So that's kind of the biggest thing I'm really looking at covering and doing in Daytona. The rest of it, just really just connecting with friends, because I know like John and all them would probably come down, because they normally do every year, get out of the cold weather. It's the first event of the year.
Ride in a t-shirt in March, which us up here up north don't do.
Right.
We just don't.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, and the turnaround twice to be here, really. I mean, this month go by pretty quick. Staying busy. I got the biggest thing I'm trying to work with is Geezer Engineering again. Got a huge shout out to them. I mean, they're putting out some great products. I'm about to get rid of the ABS on the bike. I mean, I don't use it anyway, so I'm going hard line on that. So I'm just going to route straight from the reservoir down to the front brakes, and then eventually do the rear ones, and just take that whole bulk of the ABS unit out, since '08 was not link brake anyway. It was separate. So,
Right.
and that's
You know, I was going to say, you luck out because you don't have the link braking system in that.
Yep.
That started in 14 with the specials.
Yep. Whew, yeah. 14 and up, whole different game change right there. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, Highworks just came out with their new outer fairing for 14 and up, so it looks like the 24s now.
I saw that
highlighting. I was like, I wonder what it'd be to change out from an '08 to a 14. It's like, that'd be interesting to do.
It can be done. I mean, just got to change the interfering to go with it.
Right.
It mounts the same.
Yeah, because I think the gauges are the same size. So I could fit the same gauges in there. So everything would plug up basically the same. Have to get a different radio where it's one of the big touch screens, which
right, like a SoundStream version 2, or you could find a used Boom Audio.
But putting the amps would be a whole lot easier. I will say that was the biggest pain with doing dual amps on the bike, is making sure it would fit. Now they sell a bracket, but it's got to be positioned correctly. You can't have the amp too high, too low. It doesn't work with Ally Art inner fairing braces. So I learned that. So I'm having to put it right on top of the radio. And actually I trimmed off any excess of the gauges so it would be flush as it could possibly be.
Thank you, 701 Traveler. I really appreciate that. Man, you're the best. You are the best. Good dude. I got to chat with him a little bit on my members only live on Saturday. I do 2 lives a week now.
Oh, wow.
I do a Wednesday night live, and then on Saturday, I do a members only live. And when I have work in the shop, it's actually in the shop working on bikes. Or if it's below 40 degrees, it's not happening in the shop because the heat pump doesn't work past 40 degrees.
Whew.
Yeah. That is that is a true statement. Look at this. Evil Rick with the gifting of 5 new memberships. Thank you very much, Evil Rick. You rock.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I tell you, the Dr. Harley family is second to none. I'll put them up against your family. Because I'm part of the Wesson Customs family. I have been since we met in 2023.
Yeah.
That's when I first met you and first learned about you, and we talked, and I subbed to your channel then.
Yeah, and that was actually the very first year that I went down there without my pops. So I was actually staying at the same campground. So yeah, that was a different year for me. I started doing a lot more events that year. Well, yeah, by myself. So it was kind of different that year for me because it was the first time being in Daytona by myself. But that's kind of where like my video coming back from Georgia, basically I cover everything I did that year, but starting the channel, being able to meet friends and have a good time at the events made a world difference for me.
That to me, that makes my Daytona Bike Week is hanging out with the friends and family. More than anything, I'm the first to admit it. I'm a vendor whore. I love the vendors. I love talking to them. I love spending money with them. They love taking my money and giving me products. But at the same time, I love talking with them, finding out what's new, what's coming up. And sometimes they'll tell me, "Hey, we're coming up with this project. Don't let everybody know until it's released." Of course, you know. And but to me, the highlight is hanging out with everybody. When I had the moto meetup at the Cackleberry, ended up being the same night as the bike burning, and the Badgers and Monkey and Emerald and
Yep.
Windroad
Yep.
was all over there, and then they came over to the moto meetup afterwards, which I was
Yep.
very grateful.
Yeah, I was there, Alabama.
Yep. So
yeah. So yeah, he's been around for a while. Shoot, 50.
yep.
Woo,
XAN, he's been around too. He's been with me a long time as well. He's been with a lot of channels for a long time, and he's got a pretty good channel. Pretty awesome videos when he puts them out. XAN, you got to put out more videos. Just saying, throwing it out there. So where are you, around the Mobile area or?
Just south of Birmingham. So
okay.
I mean, right between Montgomery and Birmingham. So there's not a lot around here. Now, I think it's the Muscle Shoals area that I've been meaning to get up there, but it's just far enough to where I can do a turn and burn, but to really kind of do a video and take my time, I need to stay up there because Rattlesnake Saloon is a pretty unique place. It's got like a bar, does I think a band at night. So you're actually kind of going down into a cave, and they have the restaurant.
Yep.
But Muscle Shoals has I think a music, some music history museum. So I kind of want to go up there, and that'd be the last spot in Alabama that I really haven't visited. So that's going to be an interesting one to do.
Yep. Now, funny story about your neck of the woods. A friend of mine I used to ride with, and people come and go out of your lives. And I said to him one day, I says, "Hey man, I feel like going to get crab cakes on Saturday. Do you want to go?" He's like, "Absolutely." I says, "Cool. Meet me at my house at 4 a.m. That's 4 a.m. for crab cakes. I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to Ocean City, Maryland for crab cakes." He's like, "Fuck you, I'm not going that far for crab cakes." All right, no problem. So I went and got crab cakes. I sent him a picture, me eating crab cakes on the beach in Ocean City, Maryland. About 3 months later, we're talking. He's saying, "Yeah, I'm going to make some gumbo." I'm like, "Gumbo? Dude, let's go get gumbo." He goes, "Fuck you, I'm not riding all the way to Louisiana to go get gumbo." I'm like, "Why not? That's what we got these bikes for."
Right.
Oh, see, Greg's a Bama boy.
Yeah. So I've heard great things about Rattlesnake Saloon. So it's definitely a place that I need to go check out. It's far enough. I think 3-hour ride, something like that, one way. So I do need to get like a hotel up there and just kind of spend the day and not, oh, hey, let's ride up there, not see nothing and not be worth it. But a lot of times I'm down in Orange Beach, and it's been becoming like a New Year's thing for Polar Bear Plunge. So I'm hanging out at Floribama down there. They do a big thing for Polar Bear Plunge.
Listen, Polar Bear Plunge in Alabama doesn't count. I'm going to do a Polar Bear Plunge. Come to Connecticut. Let's go to Maine. Let's do a real polar bear plunge. We're going to Canada if you want. I mean, that's a real polar bear plunge. Polar bear plunge in Alabama. It's like saying, yeah, we went swimming in March in the Caribbean,
Well, true. But,
Sorry. You're talking to a Yank here. Oh, take care, Frog. Have a good one, man. Oh. But that's funny. Man, we've been at this, believe it or not, an hour and 20 minutes already.
Yeah.
It goes by fast. It really does. So we're going to go for about another 10 minutes. if that's right with you, if you have the time,
Yeah.
if not, I understand. Because I'm sure you got family commitments and things like that as well. And it's the middle of the work week.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting on parts to come in because we're talking about that being down at the beach. We're going down to Orange Beach actually this weekend.
Yeah, forget Fort Rucker, okay? Mother Rucker, forget that place. Forget that place. Army Aviation over here. I know all about Mother Rucker. I'm good.
Oh, that's some of the worst places, especially Bessemer. I stay out of Bessemer if I can. It's just, I don't know. Like, I like Clanton because I'm I'm out of the city. Especially having my shop, being able to run my music, play with the bikes. I don't worry about.
So, have you ever ridden the V? CJ wants to know. I've ridden a lot of V's in my day. What's up, Mike Ball? Brother Mike, he's in Alabama now.
Okay.
Yeah, he moved to Alabama. He's a Bama boy now.
Yeah, I'm usually getting out of Alabama as much as possible. I mean, we have a few small events, but not really worth my time going to. A lot of them don't ride, so it's more like trailer and just drink. That, or if you want to see a pair of tits, it's so.
Yep. Hey, American Uncensored, hello. So yeah, I mean, if I lived in Alabama, I'd be at Mike Ball's house on the Sundays when they're doing the cookouts and smoking and saying, "All right, what time we eating? I got a 30 rack and a bottle."
But yeah, headed to the beach this weekend for Dad's birthday, so we'll be down there hanging out. And
hey, happy birthday to Dad!
Oh yeah. Yep. I've done the Natchez Trace. Actually started Natchez and rode it north. And actually was right near Rattlesnake Saloon, but just didn't have the time. I was like, okay, time to get home. But yeah, that was a good road. I kind of wish I could ride it again, but actually take my time. Because you got to kind of get off the road to see some stuff. So there's a lot. I mean, you could take days. Like if you actually want to see something, I mean, you could ride it if you're constantly riding in a day, but to stop and see stuff. But yeah, that's a good one. I actually kind of want to start riding some of the top roads in America. And I was actually, I think, one of the top 15. Because I was looking up, if I put it in for top 10, some places it pulled and some it didn't. But if I top 15, it did pull.
So let me ask you, what are your top 10 rides you want to do you haven't done yet? I know, tough question.
Yeah. Well, going to Key West is, because we drove down there in the car, I'd like to go back and ride that bridge, the 7-mile bridge on the bike. So that'd be just for the scenery. But like next year, going up the Springer, going to Niagara Falls, I'm going to find some roads on the way back, kind of going down the East Coast. But I really want to get out to Northern California and do the redwoods, all that up there. Some of the Oregon
Pacific Coast Highway.
Yes. So there's a lot of good riding I haven't done. See, like this year I did Needles, I did Iron Mountain, I did what's the other one?
Beartooth Pass.
No, I didn't get to do Beartooth.
That's a bucket list. I'm doing in 26.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was, but all my plans got shifted with having the bike repaired, with almost breaking a clutch cable up there. I mean, it was literally on its last strand to where I had to get that fixed. That delayed me a day. I had to go around looking for all the parts to get it fixed. Now they didn't have the ball and ramp, so the outer was fine, but the inner wasn't. So they took one from a Sportster and put it on the bike, and the entire way back. And I hate to put this out there, and that's why I did a video on proper clutch cable routing. The dude who routed the clutch cable, because I got a Barnett clutch cable, and I think it was a little bit shorter or a little bit different than the stock Harley one. Well, he routed it in front of my triple trees, and he's like, yeah, I took pictures, and it's exactly the same. No, it's not, because every time I would take a right turn, it's literally pulling on that cable and disengaging my clutch. Almost fell over twice because of it doing that. And all the guy wanted to say, oh, it's a new cable. It'll stretch. It ain't going to stretch that much. And by the time it does, it's going to rip.
Look at that. Arlene Wesson. I am watching. You got people watching you without you knowing it.
Yeah.
You know? This is Steve Turner says, I always keep a spare clutch cable in my saddlebag.
That is interesting. I haven't done that yet, but I almost wanted to just pull the bike up to O'Reilly's, get the tools, and just fix it myself. And I almost did that. Next time I probably will. And it's kind of funny, like depending on the new exhaust, depending on where it comes to with the transmission door, I might be able to almost pull it off without having taken the exhaust off. So I have to see about that, because I know with a full length I can't do it. It just depends on that shorty of how it positions.
Yep, that's the big one right there. And a lot of people sit there, why Harley get away from the hydraulic clutches with back to the cable? Well, because they had all those problems with the slave cylinders and the master cylinders, and the people not doing the proper maintenance and flushing them, and then they had to do a big recall, and Harley had to pay for doing scheduled maintenance because they weren't doing their scheduled maintenance properly.
Exactly. I mean, I've had no issues out of a cable except for right there at the lever. But I think the first time it happened 2 years ago, coming home from Daytona, I think the ball and ramp was already going out. It had pitting in it, and basically, if it's not a smooth operation, you put unwanted wear on that cable. So I had Harley fix it in Panama City, and the problem started showing up this year. So what they did was over tighten my clutch, because I got an Ames clutch in there, and when I had to, it burned up my throwout bearing. All that was melted and warped because they over tightened it. And the way I found that out was one that the throwout bearing went out in Daytona this year. So when I went to put a new one in, I had to readjust my clutch. There was no play. It was so tight. I'm like, well, that explains it. And then get up to Sturgis, and the ball and ramp was actually warped. So you could sit it on a flat piece of surface and just move it around.
Wow.
So, yeah.
No good.
Proper clutch adjustment is definitely key. And basically what they did was think of it as a hydraulic clutch and just tighten it down to where a hydraulic would adjust, but with a cable, you actually got to adjust all that. And they didn't do that. Here, let's just wrench it down.
No.
So, tons of problems that could have been avoided.
Every service I do, every scheduled service for someone's doing a 5K, 10K, just above a standard oil change, I adjust their clutch, because that's part of the service. Two, it's the proper thing to do. And I'll ask somebody, hey, while I'm here and I got your derby cover off on your oil change, you want me to adjust your clutch for you? 9 out of 10 times they'll say, why, does it need it? I'm like, absolutely. You have a hard time finding neutral, right? Yep. Okay. I'll adjust your clutch. And next thing you know, I get a call a day or two later. Dude, I could find neutral again like a brand new bike. I'm like, well, because we did the proper maintenance.
Yep.
You know?
So I put the Barnett ball and ramp in there. So it actually eliminates the oil slinger. So it's just 2 big washers, throwout bearings bigger, the ball and ramp. And now the clutch is just smooth as butter. It's like, okay, hey, I got a clutch back and I can actually maneuver this big bike like it should. I'm like, this is great. So
with that being said, guys, we're at the over an hour and a half mark already. CJ, I'm going to give you your final thoughts of tonight's live.
Oh, man, I appreciate it for coming on and having a live with you. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a pleasure. So, but I will see you guys later.
All right, guys. That's CJ Wesson Customs. Thanks for hanging out tonight. You know, I want to give a big shout out to 701 Trawler for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate you. And Evil Rick with the 5 gifted memberships to the Dr. Harley channel. I really appreciate you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank CJ for coming out, hanging out tonight, reaching out to me and asking to do a joint live together. I says, absolutely, let's do it. Because we normally don't talk a lot. We should. We really should. I'd like to be in more contact with you in the future. You know, I had a lot of fun tonight, and I look forward to a lot of fun. Next week, guys, I have the Ride Life podcast on as a special guest. That's another one you don't want to miss. Like tonight, we're going to talk to Brian and Jim and find out all about Brian and Jim and why they went from YouTube to the actual podcast platform and everything like that. That was awesome. All right, everybody. Until the next time, I want you to live the best life you can. Ride often and always ride hard.